got time.
Senator Vance, Molly Oak with 11 Alive News. I'm curious, as you close in on Election Day, we're seeing record-breaking turnout in our area. How do you feel the campaign is performing in battleground states, specifically here in Georgia?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. Look, I'm not BSing anybody in this room. I think that we're winning the state of Georgia right now. I really do. And I think that and honestly, my biggest concern is complacency down the stretch. Because if the election were held tomorrow, I'm 100% confident Donald Trump is the next president of the United States. And that's a very good thing. But the election is not tomorrow. The election is 10 days from now. And so what we have to do is keep our foot on the gas. We've got to keep on working. We've got to keep on running through the finish line, because I really do believe that our fellow citizens are ready for a change. They're ready to make the American dream more affordable again. They're ready to make groceries more affordable again. They're ready to make housing more affordable again, especially for our young citizens. They're ready to close down that southern border and stop the flow of this poison into our country. They're ready for new leadership, and Donald J. Trump is the only person on the ballot who's going to provide that new leadership. So we're going to win. I really believe that.
Senator Vance, Greg Bluestein from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Thanks for the shout out to our outlet earlier in your speech.
You're welcome. I was just kidding.
Oh, we'll take that. My question is about the Republican turnout. The Republican turnout is soaring in many parts of the state in a way that it just wasn't in 2020. What do you think took it so long for Republican voters to embrace early turnout, early voting in states like Georgia?
You know, I think there are a few things, right? I think first of all, look, leadership matters, and I think that a lot of Republicans have faith in the leadership of the Republican Party in 2024 that they maybe didn't. I'm talking about the RNC, that they didn't 4 years ago. And I think that if you look at what the RNC has done on election integrity, when you look at this, for example, the state of Georgia has passed laws about voter ID and signature verification. So I think at both the state level from Brian Kemp on down, but also at the RNC with Michael Whatley and Lara Trump at the head, I think that Republican voters have more confidence in early voting this year. And look, I've got more confidence in early voting this year. So I'd encourage all of us to get out there, vote early if you're able to, because it's how we're going to, get enough votes in the bank so that we make sure that Donald Trump wins the state of Georgia. So look, I feel good about early voting. I feel good about where we are on election integrity, and I think it sends an important message. You know, there's of course, after 2020, there was this big debate about the 2020 election, and what I never understood is whether you agreed with me and President Trump about some of the criticisms that we made 4 years ago, why not try to make American elections more secure, right? Why not do... If the American people are telling you they're worried about election integrity, why not do voter ID? Why not do signature matching for mail-in ballots? Why not make it harder for illegal aliens to vote? And, people, some of my Democratic friends will say, well, we don't think there are that many illegal aliens voting. Well, then why not make it even harder, right? The proper number of illegal aliens voting in American elections is 0. So let's get it to 0. So I actually think Georgia has set a really good standard, and I think every single state in the union ought to have voter ID, and that's how you give people confidence in our elections. And I think if people followed suit and did what Georgia has done, we'd have much better elections, and we'd all have more confidence in it. And both of those things are important. Next question.
Hey, thanks, Senator. I'm Ross Williams with the Georgia Recorder. Vice President Harris has been campaigning strongly on the abortion question. I wanted to ask you, do you believe that abortion is morally equivalent to murder? And if so, how do you justify leaving it up to states to decide?
Yes, sir. So my belief on the policy of abortion, and it's important to reiterate that, and what President Trump has said is that the voters are going to make the decision about abortion. What his presidency is going to be focused on is lowering the price of housing, lowering the price of groceries, securing that southern border, and and most importantly, promoting a culture of life in this country, because we've got way too many people who feel, if they have an unexpected pregnancy, we've got way too many young women who feel like their only option is to terminate that pregnancy. We want to increase the options. We want to make it easier for people to choose life because we believe that that's important. Now, you asked me about my personal views. Look, my personal views are that it is important to save as many vulnerable lives as possible. That's my view. And I think the best way for us, because I recognize that there are people who are pro-choice, there are people who are pro-life, there are people who are pro-life in some circumstances but pro-choice in others. The way for us to have a real conversation as a nation is to let the voters make these decisions, which is why Donald Trump believes in the policy that he does. Thank you.
Senator Vance, Kim Loeffler with Fox 5. My question, now that we're 10 days out from the election, what is your number one message to any undecided voters that we have here in Georgia?
I think our number one message, very simply, is that when Donald Trump was president, we had peace, we had prosperity, we had affordable groceries and affordable housing. Kamala Harris has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years. We have unaffordable groceries, we have a world at chaos, and we have a wide open southern border. So let's just compare the records of these two candidates. You don't have to agree with everything that I say or with everything that President Trump says, but who can disagree that we had rising take-home pay and a secure southern border? Wouldn't we all like to get back to that? But the only way The only way to get back to it is to change the broken leadership in Washington, D.C. We cannot get back to peace and prosperity. We cannot get back to affordable groceries and a secure southern border by doing the same exact things with the exact same leaders. We need change. We need new leadership. We need Donald J. Trump. That's our message to voters down the stretch. Next question.
Senator, I'm Sarah Callis with GBB News. Will you accept the Georgia results of the election, even if you do not win the state?
Yes, ma'am. Look, of course we will, but of course we're going to try to make sure that every legal ballot is counted and illegal ballots aren't counted, right? There's no... We believe in two very important principles. One, that yes, we're going to accept the results of the election, but two, we're also going to fight to make sure that every legal ballot, and only every legal ballot, is counted in the state of Georgia. Thank you.
Hi, Senator, it's Kit. I'm wondering what have you heard about Chinese hackers targeting your phone and Trump's phone?
Well, I've heard that they did it, which sucks. And I think it illustrates, frankly, the Chinese aren't trying to hack Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's phone. I think, frankly, they'd probably find some pretty weird stuff if they hacked into Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's phones. But that's just a guess. That's not a factual statement. That's merely one man's opinion, to be clear, Kit. But I think that what it shows is that the Chinese recognize that Kamala Harris provides weak leadership and Donald Trump provides strong leadership, so they're trying to do everything they can to prevent Trump from getting back in the White House.
Hi, Senator. This is Hannah Demasay with ABC News. My question for you is, do you have any reaction to the Wall Street Journal report about Elon Musk and Russian President Vladimir Putin being in contact since October 2022? And do you have any concerns about the national security aspect of it?
Yeah, so I have two responses to it. So first of all, Elon is a friend, and obviously he's a big supporter of the president and of mine. We're grateful for his support, but I'm not a spokesperson, right? So I'm not going to stand up here and try to pretend that I know everything that Elon Musk has ever done. But the second thing that occurs to me about this is it's almost like the Democrats are running the exact same playbook from 2016, but with different names and different times. Here's what I know about Elon Musk. I know that there are a lot of people in areas that were hit hard by Hurricane Helene who have internet service because Elon Musk has been working hard to make that happen. I know that Elon Musk represents something that really matters to me about the next generation of American entrepreneurship. I want people building rockets to go to Mars. That is a great and inspiring thing for our country. And if you think about it, it illustrates something that's really broken. I mean, just consider this. Our parents and grandparents, they went to Mars, or excuse me, they went to the moon with pocket calculators and slide rulers. Americans can't even build enough housing for our citizens now. I think that suggests something fundamentally broken. And what I like about Elon Musk is that he reminds us that America is a nation of great ambitions, of great dreams. And I believe that it is the solemn obligation of the American civilization to conquer the stars. We are meant for great things in the United States of America. And Elon reminds us of that. But I also know that Elon Musk thinks that it's crazy for the war in Russia and Ukraine to go on indefinitely. And by the way, he's right. It is crazy. And so Donald Trump is the president of not just prosperity. That's the most important thing, is prosperity for our citizens. Donald Trump is also the candidate of peace all over the world. The war in Ukraine would have never started if Donald Trump was president. And I really do believe there is only one person who's running for president, one person maybe in American politics who could actually bring peace to Russia and Ukraine, and his name is Donald Trump. So please, let's get out there and make him president. Let's do one more question, then we'll hit the road.
Yeah, Senator Torian Small with CBS News. Thanks again for taking our questions. You've often talked about the big tent that this ticket is bringing in, support from Elon Musk, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Nikki Haley. All but one have campaigned for the ticket. Is there a reason why Nikki Haley hasn't been tapped to campaign? When was the last time you guys have talked to her about campaigning?
Well, look, first of all, we're thrilled to have Nikki Haley's support, and I'd love to go around and campaign with Nikki Haley, and maybe that'll happen. I mean, sometimes these things are just a consequence of scheduling. You've got to put multiple people in multiple places. So I don't know the answer for why she hasn't been out on the trail, but she's endorsed us. She spoke on behalf of Donald Trump at the RNC, and you're right that we've got Bobby Kennedy, Nikki Haley, Brian Kemp, Tulsi Gabbard. We're the party of common sense from the right and the left. But I really do think this is important, because you ask yourself, what candidate can unite Bobby Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Nikki Haley, and Brian Kemp? And the answer is the guy who stands for common sense. And I really think that's fundamentally what this election is about. You know, Kamala Harris, she's the candidate of being the policeman of the world. She's the candidate of starting wars, whereas Donald Trump is the candidate of ending wars. Kamala Harris is the candidate of censoring her fellow citizens. Donald Trump is the candidate of the First Amendment. That's why Bobby Kennedy, I think, is really behind us. And Kamala Harris is the candidate of rising prices, and Donald Trump is the candidate of the American dream. And thank God for that, because we're going to make him president in 10 days. So let me just leave you with one final thought, because we're having a lot of fun. And I had fun here today, and I hope you did too, but we're having fun in the service of giving the American people better leadership. We're running this campaign. We're fighting for the American people to have better leadership, because as much as I'm looking forward to November the 5th, and trust me, probably more than any person in this room, I am looking forward to beating Kamala Harris and the Democrats on November the 5th. We got to remember that we're fighting for our fellow citizens. We're not just fighting to beat Kamala Harris. We're fighting to make sure that our fellow citizens are able to live a good life in this country that all of us love. And I want you, let me just give you a few stories. People that I've met on the campaign trail, people that I know, and how much they've suffered under the leadership of the last few years. Number one, there's a woman I met who's a retiree. And her husband is about to be a retiree, but unfortunately, he's still got a couple years where he's got to work, in part because they're raising grandchildren who were orphaned by the fentanyl crisis. So she's doing the best thing in the world, taking care of grandbabies that she wasn't expecting to take care of, and God love her for doing that. But she told me that in good times and bad, for 40 years, she and her husband had a tradition where they would do steak night on Friday night. And I'm not talking about going to a fancy steakhouse. I'm talking about going to the grocery store, buying a steak, grilling out, and having that be their special thing. And I think all of us know that it's these little rituals with friends and family that make life worthwhile in the first place. Well, you know what happened is she stopped doing steak night last year. And the reason she stopped doing steak night is because groceries got too unaffordable for her to continue on with this tradition that she had done for 40 years. And what a disgrace that is, that a woman who has worked hard and played by the rules her whole life is going without because we have a failed leader like Kamala Harris who's jacked up the price of groceries. I'm going to tell you about somebody else. I meet a lot of people on the campaign trail, and one woman in particular, she talked to me about not being able to afford the price of groceries. She told me about that for about 30 seconds, and then she told me, and Ms. King, I think you'll appreciate that she said a prayer for me every single night, and not just me, but my wife, and she knew the names of our 3 children, because even though she couldn't afford to put food on the table, she thought that it was important to pray for me and my family every single day. That reveals a generosity of spirit. Thank you. That reveals a generosity of spirit that exists in this country that we should all be grateful for, but we should remember that when we go to the polls on November the 5th. Because we should remember that there's a retiree out there who would like to be able to reestablish a ritual, a Friday night steak night with her husband, but she's not going to be able to do it unless we get better leadership. There's a woman out there with the generosity of spirit to pray for me and my children by name when she can't even afford the price of groceries. We've got the best country in the world, my friends. We've got the best people. We've got the best natural resources. We've got the most beautiful country anywhere in the world. But for our people to be unleashed into the next age, a golden age of American prosperity, we have got to fix the broken leadership in Washington, D.C. In 10 days together, that's exactly what we're going to do. God bless you all. Thank you.